Imagine a phone that holds a curse, a device that sends chilling text messages predicting the future. A harbinger of doom in the palm of your hand, a modern-day oracle that communicates through cryptic texts. That's the sinister reality for our protagonist Ryan, a tech-savvy college student who unwittingly becomes the owner of this cursed phone. Ryan, a whiz kid from Silicon Valley, had a knack for tinkering with gadgets and loved the thrill of a good tech bargain. So when he spotted an old, slightly battered phone at a garage sale in his neighborhood, he couldn't resist. The previous owner, an elderly woman with a haunted look in her eyes, practically gave it away, eager to be rid of it. Little did Ryan know he was not just buying a phone, but a curse. As soon as he powered on the device, things started to get strange. Ryan began receiving messages from an unknown number. At first they seemed harmless, albeit a bit odd. Messages like "the cat is on the roof" or "the soup is too hot" popped up on the screen. These nonsensical texts were easy to dismiss as pranks or glitches, but soon the messages started to get eerily specific. One day Ryan received a message that read, "The blue car won't start tomorrow." And sure enough, his reliable old blue sedan refused to roar to life the next morning. Another text warned, "Your professor will fall ill." And the very next day his favorite professor canceled class due to sudden sickness. The coincidences were too uncanny to ignore, but Ryan still dismissed it as a bizarre series of events, choosing to believe in logic rather than the supernatural. Little did Ryan know that these messages were far from innocent pranks, and his life was about to take a dark turn. The cursed phone was not done with him yet. It was only the beginning of a chilling tale that would unfold, where every beep of the phone would send a shiver down his spine, every text message a foretelling of what was to come. The line between technology and terror was about to blur, and Ryan was standing right on the edge. As days passed, the text messages grew more ominous, predicting events that seemed impossible to know. The phone, a seemingly innocuous device, began to take on a more sinister role in Ryan's life. It started with minor predictions. The phone would buzz and a message would pop up saying, "The milk will spoil." Lo and behold, later that day, Ryan would find his fresh milk turned sour. Then it escalated. The phone predicted a sudden rainstorm on a perfectly sunny day, and just as the message predicted, the heavens opened up and rain poured down in torrents. But it didn't stop there. The messages became more specific, more eerie. One day the phone buzzed with a new message. "At 6 o'clock, a black cat will cross your path." Ryan laughed it off, dismissing it as a random coincidence. But as he was walking home, right at 6, a black cat darted across his path, its green eyes glowing in the fading sunlight. The predictions took a dangerous turn when Ryan received a text saying, "Beware the broken step." Confused and a bit shaken, Ryan cautiously moved throughout his day. As he was leaving his office building, he missed a step on the staircase. A step that, to his horror, was broken. He narrowly escaped a nasty fall, his heart pounding in his chest. Ryan was no longer laughing. The phone's predictions were not only accurate, but were putting him in danger. His initial amusement turned into fear. A cold dread settled in his heart, replacing the thrill he once felt. He began to live in a state of constant anxiety, waiting for the next prediction, the next danger. He tried to ignore the messages, to put the phone away, but it was as if he was drawn to it. Each buzz of the phone sent a chill down his spine, yet he found himself unable to resist checking the messages. Each prediction came true, each more terrifying than the last. The line between technology and terror blurred, leaving Ryan in a state of perpetual dread. In a desperate attempt to understand the source of these messages, Ryan embarked on a journey that led him to a horrifying truth. His relentless pursuit of answers drove him to dig into the history of the phone's previous owner. The phone, it turned out, once belonged to a woman who had passed away under rather mysterious circumstances. Now, the woman wasn't your average Jane. She was known to dabble in the arcane, the forbidden, the dark arts. Whispers and rumors painted her as a practitioner of dark magic, someone who danced with shadows and toyed with the unseen. Ryan's investigation drew him further into the rabbit hole. He discovered diaries and notes that spoke of a curse she intended to cast upon her phone. A strange choice, you might think, but in this digital age, what better way to reach out from beyond the grave than through an everyday device? A chilling thought, isn't it? As he delved deeper into her life, he found that she had been isolated, an outcast, feared for her unusual beliefs and practices. Her curse, it seemed, was her final act of defiance against a world that had shunned her. Her way of reaching out, of making her voice heard even in death. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as the pieces fell into place. The ominous messages, the predictions of doom, they weren't random. They were the echoes of a voice silenced too soon, a spirit seeking retribution. The woman's curse had transformed this everyday gadget into an instrument of fate. This revelation shook Ryan to his core. He was no longer holding a mere phone. This device was the woman's legacy, her voice from beyond the grave, a chilling conduit between the living and the dead, a harbinger of doom. The cursed phone was no longer a mere device, it was a harbinger of doom. In the grip of fear, Ryan received the most terrifying message yet. A shiver ran down his spine as he read the prediction of his own demise. "Tonight, at the stroke of midnight, you will breathe your last." The words echoed in his mind, each repetition amplifying the horror that had taken hold of him. His heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing the seconds ticking away to midnight. He was no longer a mere spectator to this macabre dance of fate. He was the star of the show, and it was not a role he relished. Desperation fueled his actions. He tried to reach out to anyone who would listen, his friends, the police, even a paranormal investigator he found online. But the more he explained, the more he was met with disbelief. The world seemed to shrink around him, the walls closing in as each attempt to escape his fate proved futile. Yet in the face of impending doom, Ryan refused to surrender to the fear. He fought against the tide of despair, his will to survive pushing him to seek any possible way to cheat death. He scoured the internet for solutions, ransacked his house for any protective charms, and even tried to exorcise his phone, hoping to break the curse. The clock continued to tick, the passage of time relentless and unforgiving. As the final hours approached, the reality of his situation began to set in. Fear was replaced by a chilling acceptance. With mere hours left, Ryan was in a race against fate itself. As the final hour approached, Ryan was caught in the grip of an inevitable horror. It was as if time itself was ticking away, the sand grains in an hourglass dwindling, each one carrying a piece of his sanity with it. His heart thundered in his chest, a dreadful symphony of fear and anticipation. The cursed phone lay ominously on the table, its screen flickering in the dim light. A harbinger of doom, it bore the weight of an ill-fated prophecy that had Ryan on tenterhooks. His fate, his very existence, was tied to the phantom text messages it churned out, each one more bone-chilling than the last. Would he escape the fate that the cursed phone had predicted, or would he become another victim of its terrifying power? The suspense hung heavy in the air, a palpable entity of its own, feeding off Ryan's fear. He was in a race against time, a race he knew he was losing. His mind was a whirlpool of thoughts, fight or flight. The choice was never that simple. The cursed phone had set the rules of the game, and Ryan was merely a pawn. He was trapped in a nightmare that showed no signs of ending, a labyrinth of horror from which there was no escape. In the end, it was a battle between man and a cursed machine, a battle that tested the limits of human courage, a battle that was as much about survival as it was about the inescapable grip of destiny.